Welcome to the world of Formula One, the pinnacle of motorsport, where 20 of the world's finest drivers battle it out for the ultimate prize. It's a world like no other, one full of high-octane drama and career-defining stakes. But to truly experience the sheer intensity of it all, you need to go beyond the racetrack. Yeah bro, I'm cringing at this as well, but I thought it would be a fitting intro to what some call F1's version of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Now, let me just preface by saying this video won't be a review of Season 5 of DTS. There's going to be some elements that I address, but I mainly want to discuss the series as a whole and the influence it's had on the sport. For most, Drive to Survive is a meme machine. The show makes Will Buxton record 25 hours worth of footage just to use the 5 seconds that portray him doing his best impersonation of Jamal. But given the show's target audience literally knows nothing about Formula One, I'm gonna give him a pass on this one. In fact, the intended purpose of the series isn't even to make a mockery of it. It's mainly about presenting a side of the sports we wouldn't ordinarily see, while simultaneously engaging with the viewers who are completely new. And when it comes to the latter, Netflix has most definitely done that to great effect. According to some statistics I found on morningconsult.com, 70% of the people surveyed claimed Drive to Survive was a factor in them becoming F1 fans. Now keep in mind, these numbers were sampled at the start of 2022, so will likely be out of date, as well as being solely from the American fanbase, so take them with a pinch of salt. But considering this has been a key demographic F1 has been trying desperately to tap into, and sometimes for the worse, this acts as a pretty accurate measure for success in growing the sport's audience. Furthermore, if we take a look at ESPN's average viewing figures in 2022, we can see a 28% increase, from 950,000 viewers in 2021 to just over 1.2 million last season. For the US Grand Prix held in Austin, there was also a jump of 40,000 people viewing the race from the grandstands. Such has been the craze surrounding F1 recently. But numbers don't really mean anything without context. I will agree that it has brought a lot of exposure to the sport. Formula One has always been incredibly popular, especially among the die-hard fans. However, until the introduction of Drive to Survive, there was a lack of accessible and engaging content that showcased a lot of the behind-the-scenes aspects. So on that front, the show has helped fill this gap by providing fans with an inside look at the teams, drivers, and technology that make Formula One as interesting as it is. I personally appreciate this side of it because it's the kind of footage that's not normally part of the main broadcast. As mentioned previously, DTS has helped the sport tap into the American market, allowing for races in Miami and Vegas to be added to the calendar. Furthermore, we get to see the personalities behind the people involved. Oftentimes, drivers and team principals can seem a lot more like PR robots and less like human beings. Some of the personal stories told in the show definitely make it more compelling for the average viewer. And in terms of gaining an insight into the pressures and challenges they face, both on and off the track, it has definitely helped fans build greater appreciation for the work that goes into the whole thing. It also does a good job of providing a backstory on the major events that occurred during the season. For example, the situation with Oscar Piastri cutting ties with Alpine over social media, or how the former FIA president was helping Red Bull get away with a lighter penalty after being the only team to break the cost cap. That being said, I haven't yet addressed the elephant in the room. In previous seasons, Drive to Survive has been ridiculed for its over-dramatization of events. We've been saying it, the drivers have been saying it, but most importantly, the reviews have been saying it. Bruh, if the reviews for this season somehow manage to get worse than the last, I will personally fly over to California and tear up that 2-year contract myself. But to my surprise, they actually took some of that advice and cut down on the amount of stuff that's been twisted. Sure, you still get the classic clip used out of context here and there, but for the most part, everything is presented in a semi-genuine manner. And this leads into a bigger problem I wanted to discuss. At what point do you completely remove that element of the show's over-exaggerated nature to the point where it just becomes a glorified season review? In contrast, how much drama are you willing to fabricate in order to keep attracting new audiences? Because let's face it, in order to be competitive against the countless other shows on Netflix, you need a bit of that Hollywood element to actually entice people. It's just part of the game. Otherwise, it won't generate the kind of interest that the owners of Formula One are looking to attain. At the same time, you also want to illustrate an accurate account of events without making it seem like a regurgitation of stuff that happened. Me personally, I preferred those BBC reviews they did back in the day, because they got the best of both worlds. What I think DTS is currently struggling with is getting the right balance between entertainment and sports. In fact, F1 in and of itself is inherently entertaining without the extra drama created by the media. A season like 2007, for example, was full of that, without the need for a melodramatic TV series being made out of it. And while I do understand that it's played its part in the immense growth of the sport over the past few years, where do we draw the line between what's natural and what's being fabricated? I know, you're probably all wondering what the hell I'm on about. Isn't it easy to identify? It's not so much picking out what's real or not, but more so the difference in how the drivers and team principals behave around the cameras. As a result, the follow-up question would naturally be, how much of this spills over in how they act day to day? Of course, this is more of a rhetorical question because we'll never actually know, but I think it's something at least worth considering. I'll give you an example. In the latest season that was just released, Gunther Steiner referred to Mick Schumacher as a dead man walking. Now, obviously him saying this was to create more drama for the show, and although Mick had been seriously underperforming till that point, that kind of comment was a bit unwarranted and over the top. And I know, it's not really that deep in the grand scheme of things, but it still ties into my point about Netflix having a negative impact on the way the sport is viewed. People come to expect the version of Formula 1 presented in the show, and not what actually happens from weekend to weekend. What people see is generally what they believe, and certain narratives are propagated to create conflict. And soon enough, people start to question the influence it has over decision making. Yeah, I'm referring to Abu Dhabi 2021. Could the result have been influenced by that pursuit of a grandiose finish? There's no way to know for sure. But one has to ask themselves, when the FIA did their initial investigation after the race, they knew full well they had gone against the regulations, but decided not to correct it. Why? The fact that it was so shameful that it would bring the entire sport into disrepute? Possibly. But then what does that say about where their priorities lie? Has F1 now been affected by Netflix so much so that drama takes precedence over sporting fairness? I'll leave that up for you guys to decide in the comments below. So, what do I think of Drive to Survive overall? Personally, it ain't my cup of tea, but I can understand that it is necessary. It has done an exceptional job in bringing the sport to a wider audience and helping to increase its popularity and investment. From purely a statistical point of view, it's one of the best things to happen to Formula 1. But not everything is just about the numbers. Well, maybe not to Liberty Media, I mean, they don't care. But the way in which you represent the sport and its heritage is extremely important, and Netflix have a responsibility to do this as accurately as possible. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to drop a like, share the video around with friends, and subscribe to the channel with bell notifications to keep up to date with my latest videos in the future. I promise I will be more consistent this year, so thank you all for sticking with me. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.